Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace be upon you, everybody. So it's been over 24 hours since the Assad regime fell in Syria. Since he's now been granted asylum in Moscow, Russia. His old ally Putin might give him asylum for how long, who knows. It's a bit of brief background on Bashar al-Assad. He was born on September 11, 1965. His father, Hafiz al-Assad, ran Syria before him. He was quite a tough sort of guy, pretty feared throughout Syria, but generally pretty well respected between the. He had some respect in Washington and London. So Bashar obviously grew up in Syria, but as a young man, he went to study to be an eye doctor in London. So he stayed there for a while. Bashar's older brother was meant to be the heir apparent to Hafiz, Basil al-Assad. He passed away in a car accident. So they sort of lured Bashar back from London, where he was studying, to take over the presidency after his father's passing. So Bashar, they had to change the constitution because he was too young at the time to be president. So they had to rewrite this. So for all intents and purposes, Bashar was seen as being a reformer. He was seen as someone who was going to change the system that's been long-standing in Syria. So that was the outside point of view. There was going to be a reformer, someone who would change how things are, make it more progressive. And so he married a lady, Asma. She's, I think she's British national. I think she might be born in the UK. So him and his wife, obviously, he took over the presidency, Bashar, and his wife's quite a stylish lady. She had people were calling her the Rose of the Desert. They called her that. Vogue had her on the front cover and all that. Anyway, but so Bashar, for all intents and purposes, was seen as being a more liberal version of his father. Was seen as being more a reformer on the outside. Now, I actually visited Syria in 2010. That's almost 12 months before the Arab Spring, which took place first in Tunisia. Then uprisings they overthrew El Ain. He left. So the Tunisian government was overthrown. They had Egypt. Hosni Mubarak was there for 30-something years. He was overthrown in Egypt. And Libya, where Muammar Gaddafi lost power, was lynched by his own people. He was absolutely lynched. It was a pretty graphic way to go. He was just, brutally killed by a gang in the street. So he was found hiding in a tunnel or something, in a pipe or something, a drain. He was taken out and brutally killed. So El Ain, Mubarak, and Gaddafi, the three long-standing dictators, or strong rulers of those countries, been there for decades. Gaddafi, almost 40, 50 years in Libya. Mubarak, over 30. El Ain, a long time as well. So those three guys fell. I think El Ain went to live in Saudi Arabia last time I heard. Gaddafi was killed, and Mubarak he passed away as well. He was overthrown and passed away. So they wanted more democracy and a change of regimes. So they overthrew those guys. At the time, Bashar was reasonably stable, because I was there for a short time in 2010, and I can testify that I went to Damascus. The city there is incredible. Just the ancient history. Every street corner there's history. It's just incredible. The markets, the old mosques, just the architecture. The hotels are ancient. Like, it's all been refurbed inside, but on the outside, it's the old facade of the ancient Damascene buildings. there's still some of those are still actually there. So if you go on like TripAdvisor or Booking.com, you can see those hotels are still pretty much standing and operating right now. So Bashar was reasonably stable back then, 2011, sorry, early parts of it. He was obviously quite aware of what's going on, obviously. It'd be pretty stupid not to. So Bashar was a highly intelligent man. Obviously, studying to be a doctor, he's pretty intelligent. So at the time, there became some mild protests around cities in Syria. And they were met. At first, there wasn't much action, but after a while, they became like the protests were peaceful. They were just people singing for freedom and regime change. And I think now some school children wrote something on the wall wrote some graffiti on a wall about changing the regime. And Bashar had his men tortured them, not killed them, but to torture the youngsters. So after the treatment of those, I think it was 3 youngsters, the torture they received, the protests started becoming a bit more, again, non-violent, but more agitated, and after a while, not too long actually, Bashar's forces, his army, his henchmen started reacting by killing people. And small arms fire, airstrikes, and just slaughtering villages left, right, and centre from 2011 to probably all the way up for years. He's been doing it. I mean, they had the rise of the IS, Islamic State, in about 2013-14. Before that was Jabhat al-Nusra. So there was 2 groups there operating. So they were trying to push back against the regime. We all know how IS went. We all know how they were at the time. But so Bashar was holding on. And around 2014, he started to lose a lot of ground. Pardon me. IS started becoming much, much stronger. And that means if a strong IS, like al-Baghdadi was getting fighters from around the world, from the Arab world, from Australia, from America, from England, anywhere you want to go, IS had fighters or links or get arms. They robbed a lot of banks. IS got control of the oil fields, some of the oil fields. They were selling them off the black market at a good price for them. So they get money all the time. At this stage, Bashar was starting to lose a lot of ground. Unfortunately, a lot of his soldiers were slaughtered terribly by IS. We all seen the movies on the. We've all seen the clips on YouTube about how they were unfortunately, Anyway, so IS's brutality was quite well known. So at this stage, Bashar was losing ground. His options were drying up. His army couldn't repel IS too much longer. So he allied with because Bashar al-Assad is a Alawi, which is a form of Shia Muslim. So Alawis a minority in the Shia sect. So being Shia, he had support from Iran, because Iran's obviously supporting Hezbollah, and Iran probably made a deal with Bashar, and Russia got involved. Now, I wasn't too sure why Russia was helping Assad, what was in it for Russia, why were they helping out. But if you see, I was looking into it recently, Russia had set up a couple of military bases there in Syria, and like strong weapons, intelligence services. So they were operating, Russian intelligence was operating offshore in Syria, and Assad was allowing them to have a couple bases there. So they helped. There's more reasons obviously involved in that, but that's basically it's one of the reasons. So Assad government was doing airstrikes on the IS territories and trying to repel IS, and Russia helped out with airstrikes themselves. And Iran was also involved, sending militias there in Syria to try and fight the Sunni IS. So as you can see, it's all proxy, isn't it? It's all like 3 or 4 countries involved, and they're all trying to, it's an absolute mess, to put it lightly. So Bashar managed to somehow, with the help of Russia and Iran, at this stage, that's the main players we know of, he managed to hold on. And unfortunately, instead of trying to reform the ways he operates, Assad became much more ruthless. including a horrific chemical weapons attack on in a village. I think it was in. Very sorry. I'll put the name up in the comments there. I've just forgotten the name. I think in Duma, I think it was. In the village in Duma, he, if I'm not mistaken, he did the horrific chemical attack. One of the worst things you'd see in modern war. I mean, there's non-combatants, and they're shelling hospitals, tank blasting hospitals. So Assad was committing some of the worst war crimes you'd see 21st century. So, and Barack Obama said, "Oh, if we see any weapons, chemical weapons involved, that's crossing the line. We'll intervene there." Of course, Obama, spineless sort of guy, didn't do it. It's pretty spineless sort of man, Obama. He's not the one you want to rely on very often, don't we? But I can see his point, though. I mean, going into Syria, there's proxies involved. It's very awkward. I stuck for a lot of people really suffered, lost their lives, and that chemical attack was one of the worst things you'd ever see. I've seen bits and pieces of it on YouTube. You probably find it on YouTube, but to say it's tough watching is it's one of the worst things you'd ever. I said before, it's one of the worst things you'd ever see in the modern 21st century. Maybe World War One was a world war. This against non-combatants was one of the worst things, just atrocity. So to cut a long story short, Bashar was still in power. They gave, I think, Turkey, neighbour of Syria, tried to organise a truce, which I think Bashar agreed to, but he ignored all the parts of the deal, like to have some more democracy there, to try and get maybe even step down. But Bashar ignored all that and kept on going with his offensive. Then it came to a stalemate over 21 to 23. IS was obviously a lot more diminished in that region. Still going, but not as powerful as they were 7 years ago. Before that, sorry. And Bashar was able to hold on in a stalemate, not gaining ground, not losing ground, sort of in between. He was just holding on his territories. Like he had Damascus, he had Aleppo, he had Al-Hamma. He may have lost villages here and there, but he was still holding on to his main power base, especially in Damascus where he was living. Now, I'm not sure how long it's been going on for, but I said that in the last video, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, who was one stage an Al-Qaeda operative, and a pretty efficient operative too. He's quite an intelligent man. A lot of people don't like him, obviously, because he's links with Al-Qaeda. He's pretty strong with Al-Qaeda for a while. But say what you will, now, I don't know who's... There's rumours going around that Qatar was involved. Qatar was shunning Assad because of his crimes. Whereas the rest of the Arab League sort of a bit more open. They shunned him for a while. They still get a bit more open to him in 2023 onwards. But Qatar was still against Assad. They still didn't forget what he did. Not that anyone forgot, but they still didn't. That's all right. No, they still actually held him to account for what he did. And France actually issued a arrest warrant for Assad too. So that's still standing as well. So he had a stalemate. Turkey was quite involved in trying to push Assad out of power because they had enough of his regime, his atrocities. They ignored all the truce. He ignored all the conditions of the truce. So he was someone they couldn't trust. And with the Hezbollah in Iran, which is also a neighbour of Turkey. So there's Turkey, Iran, and Syria. They're really close by. And Turkey's obviously mostly a Sunni state. It's a bit more secular. But Iran's got the Ayatollahs. They're very Shia. They're very theocratic leadership. The leaders. People are lovely. People in Iran are lovely. But the Shia leadership of Iran, Ayatollahs, are really, they're really, want to push Shia Islam throughout the world. And they're using places like Yemen, Syria, those places where there's minorities, or Iraq, which is also neighbour. So it's all these places are neighbours, you know what I mean? So it's regional conflict. You can spread from place to place to place. Comes short, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, with support from locals on the ground in Syria, put together a crew, and obviously I think with aid from Turkey and maybe Qatar, hasn't been proven yet, but maybe Qatar, they launched an offensive in 4x4 vehicles. They drive like 4-wheel drive pickup trucks with Kalashnikovs, and so they stormed the city they stormed the country, but started with Aleppo. That's about a week ago. So they managed to seize Aleppo. And then they went towards Homs, and they went through the countryside. They started getting towards Damascus. Now, Russia was apparently going to launch airstrikes against the Mujahideen, as they called rebels in the media, the Mujahideen, holy warriors. The Russians started to do a couple of airstrikes against them. Largely ineffective. They weren't effective at all. I think it was a token gesture. So they pushed, and as of December the 8th, a day and a half ago, or 2 days ago, in Syrian time, the Mujahideen rebels entered Damascus, and Assad had his things packed up, and he left the country in shame and disgrace. So Assad has now left the country, and whereabouts? Maybe Moscow. They reckon Putin might give him asylum in Moscow. So no one's having me now, because of his record. So he's probably going to take up asylum in Moscow, in Russia. So Assad's gone. The Mujahideen have just obviously liberated the country. Now this is the hard part. As I said last time, the hard part is now. But so Bashar is what the future holds for Bashar. It's a different one, because they'll see an ICC, International Criminal Court, arrest warrant for him for war crimes. And now Vladimir Putin has military bases, I said before, in a couple of intelligence bases and military points in Syria, in Tartus, the Mediterranean coast. There's a theory going around, obviously he's going to grant him asylum, so he'll be allowed to stay in Russia with his family. But if Putin wants to keep his military bases, will he trade his old friend Assad? Now that Assad's lost, he's out of the country, has been. Will he trade Bashar al-Assad back to Syria or to the ICC for control of his military bases still? That's the question, because Putin's a very smart man. He's ruthless. He'll kill anyone who disagrees with him. He's a ruthless sort of guy. He's very smart, Putin. He's a very, very powerful man. Very intelligent. And he knows he's all about Russia. He's all about pushing Russia throughout the world. I mean, like he's invading Ukraine. That's one of the reasons why Assad's government fell, because in the past, like I said before, Russia and Iran were helping Assad keep power. Russia's bogged down in Ukraine. Hezbollah in Iran has been decimated by Israel. And Iran's obviously involved in proxy battles in Yemen. And they're involved in a war right now with Israel. So, with Assad's allies distracted, the Mujahideen, led by Jolani and by his sponsors, just in 4x4 pickup trucks into the cities one by one. Assad's been just weapons down, got changed into plain clothes and walked away. Just, you know what I mean? So Assad's support dried up. His allies wouldn't help him, and Assad was defeated. So, yeah, that's a chapter in history that's a long time coming. When I went to Syria, there's always pictures of Assad on the walls, like putting or just pictures of him, just, you know what I mean, sunglasses on. Yeah, he's a quietly spoken sort of guy, a bit of a lisp. He's quietly spoken, tall sort of man, always very elegantly dressed. And at the start, I'd say I didn't. Before the Arab Spring started, before the uprising started in 2010, 2011, Bashar was always seen as being. I thought he's obviously a pretty hard sort of man, but I thought he was far from the worst before the civil war. Unfortunately, the war was at the worst of people, and unfortunately, we saw Bashar's other side. Bashar al-Assad's other side is ruthless pursuit of holding on to power. That's the real Bashar al-Assad. Though I found out how bad he really was. I never liked him, but I found out how bad he actually really was. That's really a terrible chapter in history, unfortunately. But a lot to play out, because Assad is still trying to get asylum in Russia, which he probably will get. What happens after that? What's Putin's next move? So Putin's obviously holding the strings. Assad's at Putin's mercy, basically. If Putin boots him out of Russia, he's pretty much going to be executed or arrested. So the ICC, I believe, should charge Bashar al-Assad and his wife with war crimes, and they should both face the penalties if found guilty, which I think is, in Bashar's case, irrefutable. In Assad's case, probably the same. They're both absolutely low people. So, embarrassment, actually, they are. So now that those two rats are out of there, let's just hope and bond to the situation, because this is time of hope and jubilation. Now comes the hard part: stabilisation, because Syria's got a lot of problems with drug trafficking, which Assad was getting a lot of money from some of this narcotics. A certain drug in the Middle East, it's very popular. A lot of harm done with it, obviously, and Assad was getting a lot of money from it. So that's how he's keeping his regime floating. You know what I mean? So can they eradicate their drug trade there? Let's hope so. And let's hope for a stable, peaceful Syria. That's a bit of information, guys, about the look, Bashar. I don't talk much about him because I don't like the guy at all, as you know. But I'm just hoping that a bit of background information there about Bashar al-Assad, where he is now, how his regime fell. What's next, we don't know. So let's keep an eye on what's happening next. I'm back with more videos about what I've seen in the last couple of days. And if you like it, guys, if you've watched this far, thank you very much. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you like. Any comments about what you like, didn't like, what you want to see next, feel free to let me know. If you've watched this far, guys, thank you very much again. Stay safe out there, guys, and keep well. Peace.